Mommy, why did Grandma throw away my new clothes? My 6-year-old son stood in the doorway of my bedroom, his little face pale and confused, his hands trembling at his sides. He was supposed to be asleep. It was almost 9 o'clock at night, well past his bedtime, and we were staying at my mother-in-law's house for the weekend. But there he was, wide awake, looking at me like his whole world had just stopped making sense. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked, setting down my book and giving him my full attention. "I saw her from my window. Grandma took the clothes she gave me for my birthday and put them in the trash can outside. The blue shirt and the nice pants. She threw them away." I felt my heart stop. The clothes he was talking about were the birthday outfit my mother-in-law had given him just 1 week ago. She had made such a big show of presenting them to him at his birthday party, going on and on about how she had picked them out herself, how expensive they were, how handsome he would look wearing them. And now, according to my son, she had thrown them in the garbage. "Are you sure that is what you saw, baby? Maybe Grandma was just moving them somewhere else." He shook his head, his eyes filling with tears. "No, Mommy. I saw her. She took them out of my suitcase when she thought I was sleeping. She looked at them and made a face like this." He scrunched up his nose in disgust. "And then she walked outside and threw them in the big green trash can. I watched the whole thing." I wanted to tell him he was mistaken. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, that my mother-in-law would never do something so cruel, so deliberately hurtful to a child. But I knew, deep in my bones, that my son was telling the truth. Because this was not the first time Eleanor had done something like this. It was just the first time she had been caught. "Come here, sweetheart," I said, opening my arms. He climbed onto the bed and curled into me, and I held him while he cried, his small body shaking with confusion and hurt. "Did I do something wrong, Mommy? Is Grandma mad at me?" "No, baby. You did not do anything wrong. This is not your fault." "Then why did she throw away my present?" "I thought she gave it to me because she loved me." I did not have an answer. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that sometimes the people who are supposed to love us show it in twisted, hurtful ways? How do you tell a child that the gift was never really about him at all, that it was about appearance and control and some dark need to give with one hand while taking away with the other? I held my son until he fell asleep in my arms, and then I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling of my mother-in-law's guest room, trying to decide what to do next. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Rachel Anderson. I am 28 years old, and I have been married to my husband David for 7 years. We have one child, a beautiful little boy named Mason who just turned 6. He has sandy brown hair and the biggest green eyes you have ever seen, and his smile can melt even the coldest heart. Mason is the kind of child who trusts easily and loves freely. He gives hugs to strangers and shares his toys without being asked. He believes the best about everyone, even when that belief is not deserved. He is innocent in a way that I desperately want to protect, because I know the world will eventually teach him to be more guarded. My mother-in-law, Eleanor Mitchell, is a woman who cares deeply about appearances. Everything in her life is curated for maximum impression. Her house is always perfectly decorated. Her clothes are always impeccable. Her social media is full of carefully staged photos that make her life look like something out of a magazine. For Eleanor, image is everything. And unfortunately, that obsession with image extends to how she views her grandchildren. David is an only child, which means Mason is Eleanor's only grandchild. You would think that would make him precious to her, the sole recipient of all her grandmotherly love and attention. And in some ways, it does. She dotes on him when other people are watching, buys him elaborate gifts, posts photos of them together with captions about how much she adores him. But when no one is watching, everything changes. The first time I noticed something was wrong, Mason was about 3 years old. We had visited Eleanor for Thanksgiving, and she had dressed Mason in a beautiful little outfit she had bought for him. He looked adorable, all decked out in his miniature khakis and button-down shirt, and Eleanor took dozens of photos. But then Mason spilled grape juice on the shirt during dinner. It was an accident, the kind of thing that happens constantly with toddlers, but Eleanor's reaction was intense. Her face went tight, her eyes went cold, and she whisked Mason away from the table so fast I barely had time to register what was happening. I found them in the laundry room a few minutes later. Eleanor was roughly pulling the stained shirt off Mason while he cried, her voice low and angry. "This was expensive. Do you know how much I paid for this? And you ruined it. You always ruin things." Mason was 3 years old. He did not understand what he had done wrong. He just knew that his grandmother, who had been so sweet to him all day, was suddenly angry and harsh. I intervened immediately, taking Mason from her arms and comforting him. Eleanor smoothed her expression back into something pleasant and said she had overreacted, that she was just upset about the stain, that of course it was not Mason's fault. But I had seen the look in her eyes. That was not a grandmother upset about a laundry mishap. That was something else entirely. Over the years, the pattern became clearer. Eleanor would buy Mason expensive things that were more about her taste than his preferences. Designer clothes that a child could not possibly keep clean. Fancy toys that were meant to be displayed rather than played with. Books that were far above his reading level, chosen because they looked impressive on a shelf. And then, when Mason inevitably did what children do, when he got dirt on the clothes or broke the toys or showed no interest in the books, Eleanor would become cold and distant. Sometimes she would make comments about how he did not appreciate nice things, how he was careless, how he did not deserve the effort she put into choosing gifts for him. The gifts were not really gifts. They were tests. Tests that Mason was destined to fail, because he was a child and children are messy and imperfect and gloriously unaware of the price tags on things. I talked to David about it multiple times. I told him what I was observing, how his mother seemed to give things to Mason just so she could be disappointed when he did not treat them properly. David listened, but he had a hard time seeing it. "That is just how Mom is," he would say. "She has always been particular about things. She does not mean anything by it." She called Mason careless because he got mud on his shoes. Kids get mud on their shoes. She knows that. She was probably just having a bad day. She said he did not deserve nice things. She was venting. You know how she is. She says things she does not mean when she is frustrated. I let it go over and over because I wanted to believe my husband was right. I wanted to believe that Eleanor's harsh words were just momentary frustrations, not reflections of how she really felt about our son. But Mason's 6th birthday party was when everything changed. Eleanor had offered to buy Mason's birthday outfit. She wanted to get him something special, she said, something he could wear to his party and then to church and to nice dinners out. She took him shopping herself, just the two of them, a grandmother-grandson bonding experience that Mason had been so excited about. The night before the shopping trip, Mason could barely sleep. He asked me at least a dozen questions about what he might get to pick out. "Do you think Grandma will let me choose the color, Mommy?" "I think so, sweetheart." "What if I like blue but she likes green? Who gets to decide?" "I am sure Grandma will let you have a say. It is your birthday present." I hope she picks a store with lots of choices. I want to look at everything before I decide. His enthusiasm was infectious. Despite my reservations about Eleanor, I found myself hoping that this would be a positive experience for him. Maybe shopping together would create a genuine bond. Maybe Eleanor would see how wonderful Mason was when she had his full attention. The shopping trip lasted almost 4 hours. When they came back, Eleanor was glowing with satisfaction, and Mason was bouncing off the walls with excitement. "Mommy, Mommy, look what we got. Grandma let me pick everything." They had bags from an expensive children's boutique, the kind of store where a single shirt costs more than most of my son's entire wardrobe. Eleanor was beaming as she showed me what they had picked out. A beautiful blue button-down shirt with tiny sailboats on it. Navy dress pants with a perfect crease. A matching brown leather belt. Even a little pair of boat shoes to complete the look. We tried on so many things, Eleanor said, clearly pleased with herself. But when Mason put on this outfit, I knew it was the one. He looked so grown up, so handsome. Like a little gentleman. I picked the sailboats, Mommy, Mason announced proudly. Grandma said I could choose any shirt I wanted, and I chose this one because I love boats. Remember when we went to the lake and I saw the sailboats? This shirt reminds me of that. His joy was so pure, so untainted by the complicated dynamics I had observed over the years. In that moment, he was just a little boy who had gone shopping with his grandmother and picked out the perfect birthday outfit. You did a wonderful job, sweetheart. You are going to look so handsome at your party. Grandma said I am her special boy. She said she loves buying me nice things. I glanced at Eleanor, searching her face for any sign of the coldness I had seen before. But she just smiled benevolently, looking every inch the devoted grandmother. He really is special, she said. I just want him to have the best. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that this shopping trip had been genuine, that her affection for Mason was real and uncomplicated. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a warning bell was ringing. The birthday party was a success. We held it at our house, a backyard celebration with 20 of Mason's closest friends. There was a bouncy castle, a face painter, and a dinosaur-themed cake that Mason had requested months in advance. Mason wore his new outfit and received countless compliments. Parents I barely knew came up to tell me how adorable he looked, how grown up, how put together. Eleanor basked in the reflected glory, accepting praise for her fashion choices as if she had designed the clothes herself. "Did you see how handsome my grandson looks?" she said to anyone who would listen. "I picked that out for him. We went shopping together, just the two of us. It was such a special day." Mason, for his part, was careful with his clothes all day. He did not join in when the other kids played in the mud. He sat out the messiest activities, worried about getting his birthday outfit dirty. For a 6-year-old at a birthday party, this was nothing short of miraculous. "I want to keep my shirt nice," he explained to me when I asked why he was not joining the water balloon fight. "Grandma said it was expensive. I do not want to ruin it." My heart clenched. A 6-year-old should not be thinking about price tags. A 6-year-old should be playing and getting messy and being a kid. But Mason had already learned, from his grandmother's subtle and not-so-subtle cues, that nice things had to be earned and protected and could be taken away if he did not measure up. Still, the party was a success. Mason had a wonderful time within the constraints he had set for himself. He opened his presents, ate his dinosaur cake, and hugged all his friends goodbye with the biggest smile on his face. At the end of the party, Eleanor pulled me aside. "He actually kept the clothes clean," she said, sounding surprised. "Maybe there is hope for him after all." Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. But I pushed the feeling aside and thanked her for the generous gift. A week later, we went to stay at Eleanor's house for the weekend. It was supposed to be a nice visit, some quality time with Grandma before the busy holiday season started. Mason packed his new clothes in his suitcase, excited to show Grandma that he was taking good care of them. The first day of the visit was fine. We had lunch together, played in the backyard, watched a movie as a family. Mason was on his best behavior, eager to please his grandmother, showing off how responsible he could be. But that night, something happened. Something that would shatter my son's trust in his grandmother forever. Mason was supposed to be sleeping in the guest room down the hall. But he had woken up thirsty and gotten out of bed to find me. His room overlooked the backyard, and as he passed the window, movement outside caught his eye. He watched as his grandmother, the woman who had taken him shopping and called him handsome and given him the best birthday present he had ever received, walked across the backyard carrying his new clothes. He watched as she lifted the lid of the large green garbage can. He watched as she threw the shirt and pants and belt into the trash, one by one, and then closed the lid and walked back inside. He did not understand. He could not process what he had seen. So he came to find me, to ask me why Grandma would do such a thing, to search my face for an explanation that would make the world make sense again. I did not have one. After Mason fell asleep, I slipped out of the house and went to the garbage can. I needed to see for myself. I needed to know if my son had actually witnessed what he thought he witnessed. The clothes were there. The beautiful blue shirt with the sailboats. The navy pants. The belt. All crumpled at the bottom of the can, mixed in with coffee grounds and food scraps and whatever else Eleanor had thrown away that day. I pulled them out. They were not stained. They were not torn. There was nothing wrong with them except that Eleanor had decided they were garbage. I stood in that backyard, holding my son's birthday present in my hands, and I felt something inside me break. This was not forgetfulness or frustration or a bad day. This was intentional cruelty, a deliberate act of destruction aimed at a child who had done nothing wrong. I brought the clothes inside, cleaned them off as best I could, and put them back in Mason's suitcase. Then I lay awake until morning, trying to figure out what to do next. The confrontation happened at breakfast. David was in the shower, and Mason was still sleeping. It was just me and Eleanor in her pristine kitchen, the morning light streaming through spotless windows, the silence between us heavy with unspoken tension. I had barely slept. All night, I had lain awake planning what to say, how to say it, whether to say anything at all. Part of me wanted to pack our bags and leave without a word, to protect Mason from any more hurt by simply removing him from the situation. But I knew that would not solve anything. Eleanor would continue her behavior, would continue giving and taking away, would continue making my son feel like he was never quite good enough. If anything was going to change, I had to confront it directly. Eleanor was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping coffee and reading something on her tablet, the picture of serene domesticity. She looked up when I came in, her expression pleasant but guarded, as if she could sense that something was coming. "Good morning, Rachel. Coffee is fresh if you want some." "Thank you." I poured myself a cup, more for something to do with my hands than because I wanted it. Then I sat down across from her. "Mason told me something interesting last night," I said, keeping my voice calm. Eleanor looked up from her coffee, her expression carefully neutral. "Oh, what did he say?" "He said he saw you throw away the birthday clothes you gave him. The ones you took him shopping for. The ones he was so proud of." Eleanor's face flickered, just for a moment, before settling back into that smooth, unbothered mask. She set down her coffee cup with deliberate care. "I do not know what he is talking about. He must have had a dream." "It was not a dream, Eleanor. I found the clothes in your garbage can. I pulled them out myself." The mask cracked. I saw anger flash in her eyes, quickly suppressed, replaced by a look of wounded innocence. "You went through my garbage?" "I went to confirm what my son told me. And I found exactly what he described. The blue shirt. The navy pants. The belt. All crumpled up at the bottom of your trash can." There must be some misunderstanding. Maybe I was just putting them somewhere temporarily. "In the garbage, with coffee grounds and food scraps." Eleanor's jaw tightened. She was not used to being challenged, not used to having her actions questioned so directly. I could see her cycling through possible responses, looking for a way out of the corner she had backed herself into. "Those clothes did not suit him," she finally said, her voice tight. "I bought them thinking they would look nice, but when I saw him actually wearing them, I realized they were all wrong. They made him look like a clown. I was doing him a favor by getting rid of them." "A favor? You threw away a gift you gave him. A gift he loved. A gift he was being so careful with because he wanted to make you proud." He does not know how to take care of nice things. He would have ruined them eventually anyway. I was just speeding up the inevitable. He is 6 years old, Eleanor. 6. He is supposed to be messy and careless. That is what children are. Not in my house. Not with things I pay for. I have standards, Rachel. I am sorry if you do not understand that. I understand that you gave a child a gift just so you could take it away. I understand that my son watched his grandmother throw away something he treasured. I understand that you have been doing this for years, and I was too willing to make excuses to see it clearly. Eleanor set down her coffee cup hard enough to make it clatter against the saucer. You have no idea what you're talking about. I have given that boy everything. I have spent thousands of dollars on him over the years. And how much of it has he actually been allowed to keep? How many toys have mysteriously disappeared after he played with them the wrong way? How many clothes have been donated or thrown away because he got them dirty? Those things were ruined. I do not keep garbage in my house. A shirt with a small stain is not garbage, Eleanor. A toy that is missing a piece is not garbage. A child who is not perfect is not garbage. But that is how you treat them. That is how you treat him. I stared at her, this woman I had tried so hard to have a good relationship with, this grandmother who should have been a source of love and support for my son. And I finally saw her clearly for the first time. You have been doing this for years, have not you? Giving Mason things just so you can take them away. Setting him up to fail so you can confirm your belief that he does not deserve nice things. That is absurd. Is it? Because I have been watching. I have been noticing. The expensive toys that disappear after he plays with them the wrong way. The books that end up donated after he does not show enough appreciation. The constant comments about how careless he is, how ungrateful, how undeserving. Eleanor's face had gone pale. She was not used to being called out, not used to having her carefully constructed image challenged. You are being dramatic. I love Mason. Everything I do is because I want the best for him. The best for him would be unconditional love. The best for him would be a grandmother who does not make him earn affection through perfect behavior. The best for him would be not having to wonder why Grandma threw away his birthday present. David appeared in the doorway, his hair still wet from the shower. What is going on? I turned to him, my voice steady despite the emotions churning inside me. Your mother threw away the birthday outfit she gave Mason. He saw her do it from his window. He came to me crying, asking why Grandma would throw away his present. David's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, disbelief, then a slow dawning recognition. Mom? Is that true? Eleanor lifted her chin defiantly. The clothes were not appropriate. I made a judgment call. A judgment call? You threw away a 6-year-old's birthday present. My son's birthday present. I bought them. I can do what I want with them. You gave them to him. They were his. The argument that followed was loud and painful. David, for the first time ever, fully confronted his mother about her behavior. He brought up incidents from his own childhood that I had never heard about, times when Eleanor had given him things only to take them back when he did not meet her impossible standards. I spent my whole childhood trying to be good enough for you, David said, his voice breaking. Trying to earn things that should have been freely given. I will not let you do the same thing to Mason. Eleanor tried to defend herself, tried to turn herself into the victim, tried to paint me as the instigator of this conflict. But David was not listening anymore. He had finally seen the pattern, and he could not unsee it. We left that morning. We packed our bags, woke Mason, and drove home 3 days earlier than planned. Mason was confused about why we were leaving, and I told him, in simple terms, that Grandma had made a mistake and we needed to give everyone some time to think about things. Is Grandma still mad about the clothes? He asked from the back seat. No, sweetheart. Grandma is not mad at you. She has never been mad at you. Some grown-ups have a hard time showing love the right way, and Grandma is one of those people. But she took me shopping. She said I was handsome. You are handsome. And she did take you shopping. Those things are still true. But sometimes people are nice when others are watching and different when they think no one can see. That does not mean there is anything wrong with you. It means there is something wrong with them. He thought about this for a while, his 6-year-old brain trying to process information that even adults struggle to understand. Mommy, can I still wear the blue shirt? The one with the boats. Of course you can, baby. I rescued it from the trash. It is all clean and safe in your suitcase. You saved it. I will always save the things that matter to you. Always. He smiled then, a small smile but a real one, and I knew that no matter what happened with Eleanor, my son was going to be okay. Because he had parents who would protect him, who would fight for him, who would save his birthday clothes from the garbage and his heart from people who did not know how to love properly. The weeks after we left Eleanor's house were difficult. She called constantly, leaving voicemails that ranged from tearful apologies to angry accusations. She claimed I was turning David against her. She claimed I was overreacting to a simple misunderstanding. She claimed Mason had misunderstood what he saw, that she was just moving the clothes, not throwing them away. But we knew the truth. And more importantly, Mason knew the truth. He had seen it with his own eyes. I started documenting everything. Every gift Eleanor gave Mason, I photographed. Every interaction they had, I made notes about. I wanted a record, a paper trail that could not be denied or explained away. I bought a dedicated notebook for this purpose. On the cover, I wrote Mason's gifts from Grandma, as if it were an innocent keepsake. But inside, I recorded every detail with the precision of someone building a legal case. Entry 1, October 15th. Eleanor gave Mason a remote control helicopter for getting a good report card. Cost, approximately $150. Mason was thrilled, played with it carefully in the backyard under my supervision. No damage. Entry 2, October 29th. Eleanor visited our house. I noticed her watching Mason play with the helicopter with a critical expression. She commented that he was too rough with the controls. Entry 3, November 5th. Eleanor called to say the helicopter fell off a shelf at her house and broke. She had taken it with her after her last visit, claiming she wanted to show it to a friend. Mason was devastated. The pattern became even clearer with documentation. Eleanor would give Mason something, usually something expensive and impractical for a child his age. She would make a big show of the giving, taking photos, posting on social media about what a wonderful grandmother she was. And then, within weeks, the gift would disappear. Sometimes she would claim it broke and she threw it away. Sometimes she would say Mason did not appreciate it, so she gave it to charity. Sometimes the gift would just vanish without explanation. I documented it all. The tablet that stopped working 3 weeks after she gave it to him. The fancy art supplies that were ruined when Mason mixed colors incorrectly. The collector's edition storybooks that she accidentally donated because they were cluttering up her house. Each time, Mason was left confused and hurt, wondering what he had done wrong, wondering why his grandmother's presence never seemed to last. David confronted his mother multiple times over the following months. He showed her my documentation. He pointed out the pattern. He begged her to get help, to talk to someone about why she felt the need to give gifts just to take them back. Eleanor refused. She insisted there was no pattern, that I was paranoid, that David was being manipulated by his controlling wife. She turned other family members against us, painting herself as the victim of a daughter-in-law who was determined to destroy her relationship with her grandson. She called David's aunt, her sister, and cried about how I was poisoning her son against her. She reached out to old family friends with her version of events. She posted cryptic messages on social media about toxic in-laws and people who do not appreciate generosity. But the evidence spoke for itself. Too many incidents, too many coincidences, too many disappeared gifts for anyone who saw the documentation to seriously believe her denials. The breaking point came at Christmas. We had decided to give Eleanor one more chance, thinking that perhaps the holiday spirit would soften her, that she would see the opportunity to rebuild her relationship with Mason. Christmas morning at Eleanor's house was a production. The tree was professionally decorated. The presents were wrapped in coordinating paper. Everything was staged for maximum photographic impact. She gave Mason a beautiful wooden train set, the kind that costs hundreds of dollars, the kind that a 6-year-old would treasure forever. It came with hand-painted cars, wooden tracks that clicked together perfectly, and a little conductor figurine that Mason immediately fell in love with. Mason's eyes went wide when he opened it, and he hugged Eleanor so tightly that even she seemed moved. "Thank you, Grandma. This is the best present ever. I love trains so much." Eleanor smiled for the cameras, posed for photos, accepted compliments on her generosity. She posted the pictures to social media within minutes, along with a caption about making magical Christmas memories with her grandson. And for a few hours, I let myself hope that maybe things really had changed. Mason played carefully with the train set, setting up the tracks exactly as the instructions showed, making the little conductor wave as the train went around. He was so happy, so grateful, so careful not to do anything that might upset his grandmother. But then I saw her watching Mason play with the train set. She was not smiling. She was scrutinizing, looking for flaws, waiting for him to do something wrong. When Mason accidentally disconnected one of the track pieces, I saw her wince. When he made the train go backward instead of forward, I saw her jaw tighten. When he picked up the conductor figurine and made it fly through the air like a superhero, I saw her eyes narrow. She was already planning to take it away. I could see it in her eyes. I pulled David aside. "Watch her. Watch how she is looking at him." He watched, and he saw what I saw. That night, before we left Eleanor's house, I decided to check on the train set. Mason had left it set up in the living room, planning to play more after dinner. The train set was not in the living room. I searched the house quietly, not wanting to alert anyone. I checked the closets, the garage, the basement. I found the train set in the trunk of Eleanor's car, packed away in its box, hidden under a blanket. "She was going to say he broke it," David said, his voice hollow, when I showed him. "She was going to take it away and say he did not deserve it. Or that he was not ready for something so nice. Or that she needed to keep it at her house for safekeeping. She always has an excuse ready. How did I not see this for so long? My whole childhood, she did this. Gave me things so she could hold them over my head. Made me feel like I had to earn every gift, every kind word, every moment of her approval." I put my hand on his arm. "You see it now. That is what matters." We took the train set and brought it home with us. We told Mason that Grandma had accidentally packed it in the wrong place, and he accepted the explanation without question. He was just happy to have his trains. But we knew the truth. And we knew that something had to change. The decision to cut off contact with Eleanor was not made lightly. David struggled with it for months, caught between his love for his mother and his need to protect his son. We went to therapy together, working through the complicated emotions of setting boundaries with a parent who refused to respect them. The therapist was a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, who specialized in family dynamics and narcissistic relationships. She listened to our story over several sessions, asking clarifying questions, helping us see the patterns we had been too close to recognize. "What you are describing," she said during our third session, "is a cycle of idealization and devaluation. Eleanor gives gifts as a way of creating a bond, but then she sabotages those gifts when they do not serve her needs anymore. It is a way of maintaining control." But why would she want to control a 6-year-old? I asked. What does she gain from making him feel bad? Control is not always about gaining something concrete. Sometimes it is about maintaining a certain worldview. Eleanor seems to believe that love must be earned, that gifts must be appreciated in very specific ways, that anything less than perfection is unacceptable. By giving and taking away, she reinforces her belief that people, including her grandson, are fundamentally not good enough. David was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "She did that to me too. My whole childhood. I just did not have words for it until now." Dr. Chen nodded. Children who grow up in environments like that often do not recognize the pattern until much later. They normalize it, think it is what all families do. It is only when they see it happening to their own children that they can finally see it clearly. So what do we do? I asked. How do we protect Mason without completely cutting off his grandmother? That depends on whether Eleanor is willing to change. Some people, when confronted with the harm they have caused, are genuinely remorseful and willing to work on themselves. Others double down, deny, deflect. Based on what you have told me, Eleanor seems to fall into the second category. She has never admitted to any of it, David said. Even when I showed her the documentation, she acted like we were attacking her. Then you need to ask yourselves, what is the cost of maintaining this relationship? Not just for Mason, but for your entire family. The therapist helped David see that Eleanor's behavior was a form of emotional abuse. The constant cycle of giving and taking away was designed to keep people off balance, to maintain control, to ensure that no one ever felt secure in her love. Children need consistency, Dr. Chen explained. They need to know that when someone gives them something, physically or emotionally, it will not be taken away without warning. Your mother is teaching Mason that love is conditional, unpredictable, and has to be constantly earned. That is a lesson no child should have to learn. We spent several more sessions working through David's own childhood trauma. He remembered incidents he had buried for years. The bicycle that was returned to the store after he got a B on a test. The baseball glove that disappeared after he struck out in a game. The constant feeling of walking on eggshells, never knowing if his mother's love would be there from one day to the next. I became a perfectionist because of her, he said during one session, tears streaming down his face. I thought if I could just be good enough, just achieve enough, just never make a mistake, then she would finally love me the way I needed. But it was never enough. There was always something else I had failed at, always another reason I did not deserve what I had been given. The healing process was slow and painful. But it was necessary. David needed to understand his own wounds before he could fully protect Mason from the same fate. Armed with this understanding, David wrote his mother a letter. It was long and honest, detailing the harm her behavior had caused, the pattern he now recognized, the damage she was doing to her only grandchild. He told her that until she was willing to get help, until she could demonstrate that she had changed, she would not be allowed to see Mason. Eleanor's response was predictable. She called everyone she knew, painting herself as the victim of ungrateful children who had cut her off for no reason. She posted passive-aggressive messages on social media about how some people do not appreciate everything that is done for them. She sent flying monkeys, relatives and friends who tried to guilt us into reconciling. But we held firm. Mason's well-being was more important than Eleanor's feelings. His right to feel safe and loved was more important than keeping the peace. The first few months without Grandma were an adjustment. Mason asked about her sometimes, wondered why they did not see her anymore. We explained in age-appropriate terms that Grandma needed to learn some things about how to treat people kindly, and until she learned them, we were taking a break. Like a timeout? Mason asked. Exactly like a timeout. I hope she learns fast. I miss her sometimes. I know you do, sweetheart. And maybe someday, when she is ready, you will see her again. What if she never learns? That was the question that haunted me. What if Eleanor never changed? What if she was incapable of the kind of self-reflection necessary to become a healthy presence in Mason's life? Were we condemning our son to grow up without a grandmother? Then we will still be okay, I told him. Because we have each other, and we have lots of people who love us. Grandma is not the only person in the world who can love you. Mason accepted this with the resilience that children often show when adults give them honest, loving explanations. He did not seem traumatized by the separation. If anything, he seemed lighter. The constant anxiety of trying to please his grandmother, of trying to be good enough to keep her gifts, had lifted. I noticed the change within weeks. Mason started playing more freely, not worried about getting dirty or breaking things. He stopped asking if activities would ruin his clothes. He started being a kid again, messy and imperfect and wonderfully normal. His teacher noticed too. At the next parent-teacher conference, she commented on how much more relaxed Mason seemed. He used to be so careful about everything, she said. If he spilled paint or got his clothes dirty during art time, he would get very upset. Now he just laughs it off and keeps playing. It is wonderful to see. We have been working on teaching him that mistakes are okay, I said. That he does not have to be perfect to be loved. Whatever you are doing, keep doing it. He is thriving. He wore the blue shirt with the sailboats all the time. It became his favorite piece of clothing, not because it was expensive or fancy, but because it represented something important. It was the thing his mother had saved, the gift that had been rescued from the garbage, the proof that there were people in his life who would fight for what was his. When the shirt finally started getting too small, Mason asked if we could keep it anyway. I do not want to wear it anymore, he explained. I just want to have it. Is that okay? Of course it is okay, sweetheart. We will put it somewhere safe. We folded it carefully and put it in a memory box, along with other treasures from his childhood. Sometimes he takes it out and looks at it, this little piece of fabric that represents so much. A year passed. Then 2. Eleanor made occasional attempts to reach out, but they were always framed around her needs, her pain, her suffering. She never acknowledged what she had done. She never apologized for throwing away Mason's clothes, for the years of conditional gifts, for the damage she had caused. She sent birthday cards with guilt-inducing messages. Thinking of my grandson on his special day. I hope someday you will let me be part of his life again. She sent Christmas gifts that we returned unopened. She showed up at Mason's school once, trying to see him during recess, and we had to involve the principal to make sure it did not happen again. Each time, I felt the pull to give in, to let her back in, to believe that she had changed. But then I would remember the blue shirt in the garbage can. I would remember my son's face when he asked why Grandma threw away his birthday present. I would remember all the times she had made him feel like he was not good enough. Without acknowledgement, reconciliation was impossible. Mason is 8 years old now. He barely remembers his grandmother, which is both sad and a relief. Sad because every child deserves loving grandparents. A relief because he has been spared the continued trauma of Eleanor's toxic behavior. Sometimes he asks questions about her. He will see other children with their grandparents at the park or at school events, and he will get a wistful look on his face. Do you think Grandma Eleanor ever thinks about me? He asked once. I am sure she does, sweetheart. In her own way, she loves you. Then why cannot she see me? I sat down with him, taking his hands in mine, wanting to give him an answer that was both honest and gentle. Some people have a hard time loving others without hurting them. Grandma Eleanor is one of those people. She does not mean to cause pain, but she does. And Daddy and I decided that it is our job to protect you from that pain, even if it means you cannot see her right now. Will I ever see her again? Maybe. If she works really hard on being a healthier person, maybe someday. But even if you never do, I want you to know that you are not missing anything you need. You have Daddy and me. You have Grandma Rose and Grandpa Joe. Those are my parents, who have stepped up magnificently to fill the void Eleanor left. You have aunts and uncles and friends who adore you. You are surrounded by love." He thought about this for a moment. Then he said, "I think I am okay, Mommy. I just wanted to understand." That is a very mature thing to say. Dr. Sarah says understanding is the first step to being okay with hard things. We had taken Mason to see Dr. Chen a few times, wanting to make sure the separation from his grandmother was not causing damage we could not see. Dr. Chen said he was processing everything remarkably well, that our openness and honesty was helping him make sense of a complicated situation. We have built a chosen family around him instead. Friends who have become like aunts and uncles. Neighbors who treat him with genuine affection. A community of people who give freely and love unconditionally and never, ever make him feel like he has to earn their kindness. My parents, who live an hour away, have become the grandparents Mason deserves. They come to every birthday party, every school play, every soccer game. They send him cards just because. They let him make messes in their kitchen and track mud through their house and be perfectly, wonderfully imperfect. They have never once made him feel like he has to earn their love. "Your grandparents are the best," Mason told me recently, after spending a weekend at their house. "They are pretty great, are not they?" Grandma Rose let me help her make cookies, and I dropped flour everywhere, and she just laughed and said that is how you know you are really cooking. She did not get mad at all. That is because she loves you exactly as you are. Messes and all. I love her too. And Grandpa Joe. They make me feel safe. Safe. That is all I ever wanted for my son. To feel safe in his family, safe to make mistakes, safe to be imperfect, safe to be loved without conditions. David has done a lot of work on himself over the past 2 years. He has unpacked his own childhood, the ways Eleanor's behavior shaped him, the wounds he carried into adulthood without even realizing they were there. He is a better father now, more conscious of how his words and actions affect Mason, more intentional about creating an environment where our son feels safe and loved. "I want to be the opposite of what my mother was," he told me recently. "I want Mason to know every single day that my love for him is not conditional. That he does not have to be perfect to be worthy. That he could spill grape juice on every shirt he owns and I would still think he was the most amazing kid in the world." That is what healing looks like. Not just protecting our son from harm, but breaking the cycle of harm so it cannot continue into the next generation. Eleanor is still out there, still posting on social media about her wonderful life, still cultivating an image of the perfect woman that has nothing to do with reality. I have heard through the grapevine that she tells people we cut her off because I was jealous of her relationship with Mason. It is a laughable lie, but she believes it, or at least pretends to. I do not hate her. I feel something closer to pity. She had the opportunity to be a real grandmother, to have a genuine relationship with her only grandchild, to experience the joy of loving someone without strings attached. And she threw it away, just like she threw away those birthday clothes, because it did not look right to her, because it did not match her idea of what things should be. That is her loss, not ours. Mason still has the blue shirt with the sailboats. He has outgrown it now, but we kept it, folded carefully in a memory box along with other treasures from his childhood. Sometimes he takes it out and looks at it, this little piece of fabric that represents so much. "Tell me the story again, Mommy," he will say. "The one about how you saved my shirt from the garbage." And I will tell him, the same way I have told him dozens of times before. About the grandmother who gave gifts that were not really gifts. About the little boy who saw something from his window that he should never have had to see. About the mother who climbed into a garbage can in the middle of the night to rescue something precious. "You saved it because you love me," he always says at the end. "I saved it because I love you." I always agree. And I will always save the things that matter to you. Always. That is the promise I made to my son the night I found him standing in my doorway, confused and hurt and asking questions I did not know how to answer. It is a promise I have kept every day since. And it is a promise I will keep for the rest of my life. Being a mother means many things. It means sleepless nights and difficult conversations and standing up to people who should know better. It means protecting your child from harm, even when that harm comes from someone who shares their blood. It means teaching them that they are worthy of love, real love, the kind that does not come with conditions or strings or the threat of being taken away. Mason knows his worth now. He knows that his mother and father love him completely, without reservation, without the need for him to be perfect. He knows that when someone gives him something, it is his to keep. He knows that the people who matter will never make him feel like he has to earn their affection. Those are the lessons that will carry him through life. Those are the gifts that cannot be thrown away. And they are worth more than any expensive clothes or fancy toys or picture-perfect images could ever be. Thank you for listening to my journey of discovering what motherhood truly means. I have left 2 more stories on your screen, each from mothers who learned that protecting a child can mean standing alone against those once called family. Choose the one that speaks to you. And if you want to join a community of parents who fight for their children, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, blood connects us, but a mother's love protects us.